Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. Time to start the Zinti turn in Federation space, and these cats are mad. So you'll remember the Klingons had pushed into Zinti space and destroyed a base station, and that's all they did for their turn, and now the Zinti are going to respond to this. And so the Zinti have their home fleets are back here, and there's Zin, and let me see if I can grab my sheet that shows us what's under those stacks. There's Zin, there's Krath, and there's a star base right here where this light carrier is located. There's a fleet repair dock underneath this strike cruiser. And next to Krill there is another star base. So I think what the Zinti are going to want to do, they're going to want to definitely respond to this fleet that took out the base station. So I'm sure they're going to go in after that fleet, because after all, that's what the Zinti would do. They're not going to stand for that. So we're going to have some of these ships are going to come down and attack that fleet. We may have the Zinti send a fleet around this way to destroy this base station since it is undefended. We also have Zinti fleets along the Federation border which can also respond to the Klingons. So a lot to think about here, but first and foremost, like I said, I think we're going to have the Zinti respond to this immediate threat, this fleet that is in their territory and took out one of their base stations. So we're going to see what we have here in the way of ships. Now, this star base can certainly send ships in there. The ships that are sitting on Krath, I think it is. Let's see what's in here. I believe they can reach. Let me straighten out this stack. These stacks are huge in this game sometimes. So Krath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they can definitely reach from Krath. And there's a light carrier, a strike cruiser, a couple of light cruisers, and a couple of frigates. They probably wouldn't want to send the frigates in there, though we may want to move those forward. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 ships we could send forward. And I'm going to leave the frigates behind for just a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4 ships. They're going to want to send 6 in there. Let's set those aside just for a second. We can support that with some of the ships off of the star base here. So there's some strike cruisers in there. There's a carrier and a couple of light cruisers again. There is a scout, so you definitely probably want to send that scout. So I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the scout. And we're going to send that carrier in as well. So that's going to be 6 ships, and I'm going to put the stack back on the star base. And so that's going to be 6 ships counterattacking that Klingon fleet. And so how am I going to do this without creating a mess? What I'm going to do is just move these aside for now. We'll have to resolve that battle in this hex. So that's going to be the Zinti's first move. And continuing to look now, they might want to attack. There's a base station under here, but they may want to attack that. And because that would threaten Farallon here. But let's see what's in here under this base station. If I can pick up the stack. So there's a couple of, well, let's see. Yeah, there's a couple of frigates, 2 frigates, and there's a D6 heavy cruiser and a D7 heavy cruiser. So there's 4 ships sitting on that base station. And there are base stations here, of course. That's a strike cruiser and a frigate, but not a lot there. And on this base station, we got to be careful because you can see that there's, I think that's a Klingon star base. Let's see, what is that? Yeah, there's a Klingon star base and another base station in front of that with a lot of ships on it. So you got to be careful here. So there's a scout, a strike cruiser, and a carrier on that base station. So not a lot. We do have the home fleets back there that can come in and help support the front line. But like I said, these Klingon ships can certainly respond. So we have to keep that in mind. Now we do have these fleets that are back here on the Federation border, which we could bring down. Because I don't think the Federation is going to attack the Zinti. You never know though. Like I said, we're anything can happen in this game. But for now, they're allies, so I don't think that's gonna happen. All right, so I think we are going to attack this base station. And I'm going to start by pulling ships off of these base stations. And the reason I'm going to do that is because of the stacking in this game. And if I understand it correctly, the rules state that you can never violate the stacking limit. So I don't think I could have this fleet rush ships directly to that base station, because he would have to go through, the fleet would have to go through these ships, and they wouldn't be able to do that without violating that stacking limit. So let's pull these Klingon units out. And like I said, the stacks are getting out of hand here. Okay. We've got a battle here, and now we're going to have a battle on this base station. 2 frigates and basically 2 heavy cruisers. So we've got a carrier, so that'll be 1, 2, 3 ships we can bring in. So there's 3. I'm going to bring in 4. That's the strike cruiser. Leave the 2 frigates where they are for now. And now these home fleets can come into the picture here. And we have these frigates back here. I'm going to hold those back. I'm probably going to move them forward, but I'm going to hold them back for right now. And so I'm going to leave that strike cruiser on the fleet repair dock. And is there a scout in here? I think there was. Yeah, there's already a scout in there. So we want to bring 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to bring 2 more ships down. So I think we're going to bring the carrier. So that would be 4 or 5. And then we're going to bring down another strike. Well, you know what? No, we're going to bring down this CVE, because it's got a fighter on it. Well, pretty weak fighter, though. I'm going to bring down the other strike cruiser. Risky. Very risky. You don't want to lose your big ships in this game early. That would be bad news. All right, so those are going to come down from Zin. That's the fighter. Then the next battle is going to take place here. And then what I do want to do now is move some ships to this base station. We don't leave that exposed. And there's a star base up here, so we're going to bring some ships down from that. I'll leave the frigates behind for now, again. All right, so there's 2 ships there. They're going to come down. We're going to put those on this base station. And again, counters are going everywhere. I'm going to bring down, this strike cruiser is going to come down. And right now we're just shuffling fleets. I don't think I'm going to, well, let's see. Really making a mess here. I'll have to straighten these up afterwards. I think I'm going to bring, so over here, this Klingon stack where this C-17 is, there is not a base station under there. I don't know if it makes much sense to attack that yet, though. I'm thinking we definitely want to bring these ships down, though. I don't think we want to leave these up here. So all these ships on Perry, I think, are going to come down. 2 frigates, 3 frigates. Let's bring those down. They're going to come down to, what is this, Karn over here? We're going to bring them down to Karn. Up here, this is probably a base station. It is. So we got a CVE, a strike cruiser, a scout, and a light cruiser. We're going to bring those down as well. And we're going to bring those down to, Zom. Leaving this base station open, but that's okay. It's on the Federation border and not a big concern for the Zinti right now. And then this is also another base station under here, which is getting closer to the Klingon border, so we got to be careful. So there's a carrier, strike cruiser, and 2 light cruiser and 2 frigates. So I think we're going let's see, do we want to move those yet? I think we are. I think we're going to bring all of these down, including those frigates. They're just going to come down to this border, trying to pin up the Klingons. So they're going to come into here. And I think, we're going to have these 2 frigates are going to come down. Well, let's see. Where do we want to move these 2 frigates? We may want to park those on one of these base stations with the thought that depending on how these battles can go, maybe they can shoot in and terrorize some of the Klingon homeworlds. So let's do that. Let's bring these 2 frigates down. And they're going to join this base station right here in the hopes that they can shoot into Klingon space. There's 1, 2, 3 frigates there already. Oh, that's Zursk. So 4. We want those parked on the homeworld anyway. All right, so we have these 2 battles, and then we've kind of moved the fleet up over here, and we still have a few of the reserve ships back here on the homeworlds that we can pull down as needed. And some frigates there as well. So again, kind of a meek attack from the Zinti, but I'm not playing this like a human player would play it. I'm playing it like an Empire would play it. And maybe they wouldn't play it this way, but that's how they're going to play it here. So we're going to have 2 battles. They're going to be up here. And that's going to end the movement phase for the Zinti. So let's go ahead and resolve the battles. We'll do it in order. We'll start with this first one. I'm going to grab the Klingon. Now this is where the Klingons destroyed the... This is where the Klingons destroyed the base station. And the Zinti are mad, and they've come down there to destroy this fleet if they can. And we will go through combat, and I am going to try to be a little more cautious this time. I've been messing up some of the attack and defense factors. And I don't want to do that this time, so I'm going to try to be a little more careful about that. I don't know why I've been doing that. Brain glitches, I guess. The first thing we do, and I think I might have messed this up last time, although it wouldn't have mattered because I would have deployed the ships the same way anyhow. The non-phasing player places one of his ships first in block number 1. So the Klingons, they have this damaged heavy cruiser. They don't want to put that there. They do want to put a cruiser in there, so they're going to put... They will put this heavy cruiser in block 1. And now the Zinti get to respond. So for that heavy cruiser, they're going to put in their carrier, or light carrier. I think that's what they want to do. Let me see. They've got a... No, actually, they've got a... Well, hold on a second here. Let's pull that back up. Because they have a carrier, a regular carrier, so they're going to do that. And I'm going to put the fighters back here just for a second. So we do have fighters in this for the Zinti. We're going to hold those back. All right, and then back to the non-phasing player, the Klingons can put a ship in. So they're going to put down their D6 heavy cruiser in box number 2. The Zinti will respond by putting down their light carrier. And then the Klingons will populate box 3 with their damaged heavy cruiser. And the Zinti will respond by putting down a strike cruiser. The Klingons will now put down... Oh, that's a damaged frigate. I didn't notice that was damaged, so they're battered fleet here. So they're going to put down their non-damaged frigate, and then the Zinti will put down one of their light cruisers to match that. And finally, the Klingons will put down their damaged frigate. The Zinti will match that with their light cruiser. And now the Klingons have nothing else they can put down, so the Zinti are free to double up if they wish to do so. Well, they are going to put a scout out with the... They're going to put the scout... I want to protect this scout too, so I don't think I want to put it with the... We'll put the scout with this damaged frigate. And now our fighters are going to go out. I'm just going to keep the fighters with their carrier, just more thematic, if nothing else. Now, I probably, if I were really wanting to put thought into this, I probably would... Well, you know what? Maybe I do want to split these up. I definitely want to keep the carrier group, the main carrier group, with its carrier, and they're not named here, but the fighters that go with the carrier is what I'm trying to say. I want to keep those together. This other carrier group, this is the light carrier fighters. We'll just leave them there. We want to knock out these heavy cruisers if we can. That's how the fleets are going to line up, and then we go into battle. And again, I'm going to use my little handy-dandy marker here to show where we're at with the battle. And again, fire is simultaneous here, so we're going to have, and let me step through this. We'll have the alliance ship. We'll solve that first, so I'll try not to confuse the attack and defense factors. Maybe that's what I was doing. So the carrier has an attack factor of 10. The fighters have a whopping 6. So that's 16 going against a defense value of 7 for that heavy cruiser. So 16 minus 7 is 9. So that's going to put the Zinti on the 9 column, which is here. Double checking. So the attack factor is against the defense factor. That's correct. Now this heavy cruiser has an attack factor of 8, and it's going to shoot at, which one is it going to shoot at? Much better chance of hitting the fighters than the carrier, but then again, maybe the Klingons do want to try to damage that carrier because it's for future purposes, if nothing else, they've damaged the carrier. So that would be 8 against 10, so be on the -2. Not much chance of doing anything, but they could, in theory, damage it. We're going to try it. So 8 firing at 10, so that's a -2 for the Klingons, and we roll. And of course, they roll low, so unfortunately for the Klingons, that's going to be a miss. The Zinti roll a 5, so that is going to be, ouch, that is going to destroy that heavy cruiser in one shot. So this is how it shakes, this is how it falls out on the combat resolution table. The Klingons miss, and the Zinti managed to destroy in one hit that heavy cruiser. And you may have noticed over here, I'm putting the destroyed ships on this side. That's because as we go through the economics phase, you can rebuild ships that are eliminated, and I just want these to be closer to the empires that lost the ships. So that is the column number 1, and we go to the column number 2, and we start over. So again, the Zinti are firing. Now, and I'm going to note here too, you'll note the box around the light cruiser, meaning that I could have put the light cruiser in the support box, but I didn't. Same thing over here. I'm just going to have these match up 1-to-1. So the light cruiser has an attack value of 6, plus the fighters 5 is an 11. So 11 going against a 7. That's a difference of 4, a positive 4. So they're going to be on the 4 column. And we're going to have the heavy cruiser firing at the light carrier. So it's 7 firing at a 7. So they're going to be on the 0 column. And here we go. Ship against ship. They're firing. Oh, and the Klingons roll low again. So that's a miss for the Klingons. And the Zinti roll a 5, which is a damage. So that's going to damage the heavy cruiser. It'll flip it. And then we will come over to box number 3. And this already damaged heavy cruiser is at 4. So the strike cruiser is going to fire at that heavy cruiser that's damaged. So it's 6 against 4. So they're going to be on the 2 column. Returning fire, it's 4 against 7. They're going to be on the -3 column. And I just realized, I forgot, we do have scouts for the Zinti in this. So the Klingons really should be taking a -1 off of their roll. Not that it matters yet, because they haven't really done anything. But we've got to remember, with this scout on the Zinti side, and there's no scout on the Klingon side, at -1 for these Klingon rolls. So it's even tougher for the Klingons, which they finally roll high. So that 6 becomes a 5. So that would have hit, but the scout knocks it down to a 5. Really bad luck for the Klingons. And then again, 4 for the Zinti. So that's going to destroy the Klingon heavy cruiser. And nothing for the damage for the Zinti. So it's going to flip the strike cruiser. No, it's not. What am I doing here? It's there's nothing under that 5. I just said that. All right, so now we go to box number 4. And we have the light cruiser is firing at a 5. The frigate is defending at a 3, so we're on the 2 column. Frigate is firing at a 3 at a 5 defense factor, so they're on the -2 column, and they get a -1 to the roll. They're going to have to get a 6 to hit. Oh, they roll high again, but 5 minus 1 is a 4, so that puts them here. So both sides miss, and then we finally come out to the box number 5. Box number 5. So the Zinti, 3 plus 2, 7, firing at a defense factor of 2. They're on the 5 column. The frigate is going to fire at the scout, so 2 firing at 4 is on the -2 column. Again, the Zinti or the Klingons are at a -1 because of the scout. They don't roll anything worthwhile. But it's going to be a damage for the Zinti. That's a damaged result, which will destroy that frigate. And so that's going to end the first round of combat. And I think the Klingons are going to have to bug out here. So these Klingon ships are going to try to disengage. The Zinti will definitely pursue. It's not really going to matter a whole lot here who we pick. We'll just say that the strike cruiser pursues. And I don't know if it has to be 1 per ship. Let me check the rules here real quick here. So I think, yeah, that we'll have to designate another ship to pursue this frigate. So we'll just have this light cruiser come after the frigate. So let's resolve the damaged heavy cruiser first. So the way this works, I'm using the expanded disengagement rules from Nexus number 1, where we're going to add 3 to the die roll for the disengaging player. And it's actually a +4 if the ship is damaged. So we're going to start with the damaged heavy cruiser. The Klingons will get +4. The Zinti will get whatever they roll. So let's see. Does the heavy cruiser disengage? So the Zinti will roll a 1. The Klingons roll a 4, or a 3. So it's 3 plus 4 is 7. And then it is 6 plus 1 is 7 for the Zinti. So it's a tie. I believe, though, I'm going to grab the rules again. I think a tie goes to the disengaging player. Yes, so it's equal or greater. So it is equal here, 7 and 7. So this Klingon heavy cruiser will get to successfully disengage. We're going to put him, this was the one that was in this battle. So we're going to bring it back to, well, actually, you know what? We're going to bring him to the base station. They retreat back to the base station. And then finally, the frigate is trying to escape, disengage. 4 and 4, and we add the values, well, 3, 7, yeah, so the Klingon definitely gets to disengage. So that frigate also will come back to this base station. And did all of the Zinti ships survive unscathed? They did. So we're going to just take all of these, start with a scout. We're just going to take all of these and move them back to that battle hex. That will resolve battle number 1. Battle number 1 has been resolved. The Zinti managed to come back and knock out that Klingon fleet that took out their base station. Oh boy. Really tough to move these stacks when they're stacked that high without knocking everything over. All right, so battle number 2, and this is where the Zinti are trying to knock out a Klingon base station. So we'll go ahead and put the base station on the board. And then we'll grab the Zinti ships. All right, so the same thing here. The Klingons will deploy a ship first. The non-phasing, oh, I forgot a Zinti unit. So that's going to go in here as well, making that stack even taller for me to knock over. So the Klingons will put down a ship first in box number 1. Ooh, so yeah, this is not good for the Klingons. They'll put down the heavy cruiser. And the Zinti are going to put down... Let me go ahead and separate out the fighters again so that we don't have to worry about those for now. Yeah, this is bad news for the Klingons because there's so many large Zinti ships in this stack. All right, so box number 2 is going to go a heavy cruiser. The Zinti will counter that with another carrier. And then the Klingons only have frigates left, so they'll put a frigate down. Strike cruiser for the Zinti. Klingons put down their last ship, which is a frigate, another strike cruiser for the Zinti. And now we can put these other ships, we can double up. Let's go ahead and put the fighters in with their carriers. We will put the scout out. So double ships for the Zinti, and then one single ship row there that the Klingons have. They do have the base station though, although I don't think it's going to be able to do a whole lot, but we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and start. We will begin with the center box. So the Zinti are going to fire. They are going to fire, so 10 plus 6 is 16. Firing at a, well, let's see, who do we want to fire at? First of all, we can actually take shots at the base station from back here. Do we want to do that? I think for now, the Zinti are just going to attack that heavy cruiser. So 16, and we are attacking the heavy cruiser at a defense factor of 7. So that's going to be 9. And then the Klingons, and here we can choose to split the fire from the base station, or we can have it join in. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I think we're going to have the base station attack the carrier along with the heavy cruiser. So that would be 9 plus 8 is 17 firing at the carrier. So they'll be on the 7 line, so they'll be equal. So the base station is firing, and I believe that can only fire once per combat round. So we'll go ahead and have the fire take place here. Now the Klingons will get a -1 again because there is a Zinti scout. And so we roll. So that is a 2 result for the Klingons. That is a 6 result for the Zinti. So that means that the Klingon heavy cruiser is destroyed in one shot. This is not good for the Klingons at all. And then the Zinti managed to damage, rather the Klingons managed to damage this carrier. So we flip it and leave it at that. So that's the first box. Now we'll go to the second box, the carrier and the fighter, 16, firing at the heavy cruiser at 7. So we're at 9 again for the Zinti, and then we have the heavy cruiser at 7, firing at the fighters, let's say. So that's, well, again, do I want to do that? I don't think they can really do much to this. Yeah, so they're not going to be able to even really hit that carrier. We'll have them fire at the fighters. So 7 firing at 3. So they're going to be on the 4 column. And again, they'll get a -1 for this. Oh my god. So the Zinti roll a 6. That's right there. And then the Klingons roll, they roll nothing because of the scout. So nothing for the Klingons, and the Zinti, again, in one shot, destroy this heavy cruiser. Now we go to box number 3. This is horrible for the Klingons. So the Zinti are at 6 plus 2 is 8, firing at a defense factor of 4. We'll put them on the 4 column. The Klingons, 3 firing at, we'll have them fire at the scout. So 3 firing at 4 will be a -1. And again, they'll get -1 for this roll. And, oh, there we go. So they finally roll high. So the Zinti roll a 6, the Klingons roll a 5. So damage and damage. So that's going to damage the frigate. And it's going to damage the scout. And then we go over to the final combat box. And let's see. Starting with the Zinti, it is 6 plus 6 is 12, firing at a 3 is 9. And then this frigate is going to fire, it doesn't matter, they're equal ships, just going to fire at the first strike cruiser, so 3 firing at a 7. They're going to be on the -4 column. And again, the rules weren't very clear about this base station. I'm assuming that it can only fire one time per combat round. If that's wrong, let me know below, because that would change the battle dramatically if they can fire every time we go to a different combat box, but that doesn't make sense. But who knows? So the Zinti roll a 1, and the Klingons roll a 5. -1 is a 4, so that's not going to do anything for the either. Well, yeah, it's a damage for the Zinti, so that's going to flip the frigate. And that is going to end combat round number 1. All right, so combat round number 1 over. Now, the Klingons, I think, are going to have to decide that it's a good day to die, and they're just going to bring these frigates into the center box. And the Zinti will... They're going to pull this carrier out with its fighter group. So they're going to bring this into its reserve because they want to hold on. That's damage, and they don't want to lose it. So they're going to move this carrier to the center box. And again, I don't really have to move these to the center box because we know what's going to go on. We're going to bring in these strike cruisers. I'm going to bring this other strike cruiser out. And we'll leave the scout in so that the Klingons get the -1 to their rolls. And we will now go to combat round number 1. The Zinti are firing. They are going to be firing. We will have, what will we do here? We're going to have the strike cruisers are going to fire at the frigates, and then these remaining ships will just fire at the base station. All right, so the first strike cruiser is going to fire at the first frigate. So it's going to be 6 against 1. It's going to put it on the 5 column. And the frigate is at 1, firing back at that strike cruiser. It's going to be on the -6 column, so it's not really even going to do any good here. Still a -1 on the Klingon roll, which they rolled high as they could, but it wouldn't have done anything anyway. The Zinti roll, yeah, it's going to be a 5, so it's going to be destroyed. So this frigate will come out. And so this ship is fired. This next strike cruiser is firing at the frigate. 6, it's firing at a defense factor of 2, so it's going to be on the 4 column. The Klingon frigate is 2, firing back at 7, so it's going to be on the -5. Again, not going to be able to do anything. And they roll really low again, and the Zinti rolled a 4, so that's enough to damage, which is already damaged. Destroys the frigate! And finally, we have these 3 ships were firing at the base station. And the base station, of course, is going to fire back. So we have 10, 16, 17. 17 -5 is 12. Well, let's see. So 17 -5 is on the 12 column. The base station is going to fire at the carrier, so that is 9, -1 column. No -1 for the Zinti firing at a base station on that support column. They roll a 5, and the Klingons roll a 2 because of the scout. So that X for a base station destroys it, and nothing for the Klingons. So very bad news for the Klingons indeed. That battle has now been resolved, so we will put the Zinti ships back where they belong. Was this scout damaged? It was flipped. I don't remember it being damaged. I think I might have flipped that. I don't think any of the Zinti ships were damaged except for this carrier. So let's just put these back. And we'll put the damaged carrier on top. So the Klingons have lost a base station. All right, so the Klingons have been knocked back on that side of the Zinti border, and I think they're in trouble. I don't think the Klingons are going to be able to stop the Zinti because, again, we're not using fleet rules. The Zinti can use everything at their disposal, and I'm not so sure the Klingons can stop the Zinti. This may be a very short war for the Klingons. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, maybe it may change if the Federation gets involved, the Romulans get involved. I do not know, but right now it doesn't look good for the Klingons at all. They've lost a lot of ships. And so that's going to end it for the combat phase for the Zinti, and I believe that ends the Zinti turn. So we will take the Zinti turn marker off, and next up, the Federation, which is not at war yet, so it might be a very short turn. We may have some short turns coming up. The remaining empires are not at war yet, so we've got to figure out when they're going to enter the war, and then when they do, we'll move their fleets around. They may do a little bit of movement. The Federation may do some movement just to kind of get ready for whatever may happen. I don't know. Another thing I might do, the Federation in the standard game comes in on turn 5. Again, I'm not playing a standard game. This is a sandbox, so what I may do is roll a d6 to see when the Federation might come in, or I may roll the percentile dice again to see if they come in. Maybe the Romulans. If the Romulans see that the Klingons are going south rapidly, they may want to just jump in. Their turn is after the Federation turn, so they may want to enter the war this turn to try to help the Klingons. We'll see when we get there. So I am going to end it here. The Zinti are on the march. The Klingons are scrambling. That's it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time.